Stealing some precious time from his busy schedule at G20 Summit level talks in Bali, Prime Minister was today interacting with Indian community in Bali at a community event where people from Indian origin were present, people who have actually settled in Indonesia maybe 3, 4, 5 generations ago. Because the modern history, if we trace, at least there has been some 150 years of history of people who have migrated from India and gradually settled in parts of Indonesia. Bali, where this event is happening, and of course, Prime Minister was interacting with Indian diaspora, is a predominantly Hindu area where almost 80 to 90% population is still practice Hinduism as a religion, and they trace their linkage, their heritage, and their history very much with the Indian context and Indian Hinduism. We can also find a lot of Hindu temples around Bali. There is this epic Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Gita are as much popular and as much believed here in Bali. So there is a clear connect, a historical linkage that Prime Minister was trying to, highlight when he was interacting with the diaspora. At the same time, Prime Minister also highlighted how in the last 7, 8 years of him being a Prime Minister of India, India has progressed in multi-direction, talking about bank accounts that the government has been able to open for many people, and also the kind of roads network that is being laid across the country, the GDP growth that India is having, and the infrastructural growth that India is having. Every sphere of India's socio-political and economic life, Prime Minister was trying to highlight at this event. And he said that clearly India has emerged at the world stage as a more stronger and more powerful nation, where world leaders are now trying to become closer to India, they have expressed their interest in engaging with India bilaterally, and also at multilateral levels. India has become a country where world is actually seeking their opinion. This we can actually connect with the recent remarks that Prime Minister has made during his Samarkand's SCO summit level talks, when he was having a bilateral conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, where he said that this is not the era of war. And this one phrase has echoed at multiple levels across the world, where talking from French President Emmanuel Macron to United Nations Security Council members have echoed the same sentiment with the same phrase, that this is not the era of war. And probably the world needs to focus on aspects that are very relevant to the current day's life of the people around the globe, and the problem that the people around the globe are witnessing. These problems could be food supply chain disruption. These problems could be climate change, how to ensure affordable and accessible power, food, and energy to all across the world, how to work collaboratively on the issues of climate change, and also the cyber and the world wide web, which has become a part of our day-to-day life in the last 20 years. So how these things needs to be taken care of while optimizing for optimizing this for the best of our productive uses, and not letting them be abused by some mischievous elements across the world. So these are the elements that Prime Minister has been highlighting at G20 level summit level talks, where he's also where he actually had two sessions on foods and energy security and health. On next day, like on 16th of November, Prime Minister will be having another session where he'll be talking to the G20 leaders. He'll be having a lot of bilateral engagements as well with several world leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron, President of Indonesia, Joko Widodo, is also going to have a bilateral with Prime Minister Modi. Then there are Prime Minister of Spain, Singapore, Italy, Australia. They are also going to have bilateral meetings, and we can also expect some pull-aside meetings which are not scheduled yet. But of course, being in Bali, Prime Minister also highlighted how India and Indonesia have been a true all-weather friend. They have not been a friend who are just there for the benefit of each other, but they have also shared pain and grief and helped each other. He mentioned how in 2018, when Indonesia was reeling under the aftermath of a severe earthquake, India was the first responder with a lot of help and assistance that India provided to Indonesia. And there's a lot of bilateral trade that has also emerged in the recent years, where India has emerged as one of the key coal supplier. And of course, though India wants to gradually decrease its dependence on fossil fuel, but currently the reality is that there is a lot of coal and a lot of crude oil that is the mainstay of our energy basket, and this is especially important because when we talk about energy transition, India has been focusing and India has been stressing that by 2030 India will be having almost 50% of its consumption of energy coming from renewable sources. So Prime Minister has been championing the cause of climate change and how to prosper at the same time, not destroy our collective climate. These were the sentiments that Prime Minister expressed here. He also said that how India and Indonesia diaspora can work together, can come together in in strengthening the ties that has a past that has a history of millennia, and people of current generation may also find their roots and their longing in each other's culture, and probably more people to people exchange will be the way forward, which will bring the two nations even more closer.